Hi, and welcome back to the Daily Digest. It's episode 12, and I am Nigel.
And I'm Joshua.
Welcome back, Joshua. How have you been this week?
Chilled. It's almost my birthday. I'm almost 35.
Almost. You're already 35 by the time this episode goes out.
Spoilers.
Spoilers indeed. So this week's episode is going to be a special episode for the fact that it is Joshua's birthday weekend. We're going to have our usual news roundup. We're going to have in conversation. We're going to have our usual complaints closet where Josh is a moany old bitch, and emphasis on the old now that it's his birthday because he is 35. And we're also going to we're also going to have a little special giveaway, and Josh is giving me evils at the moment while sipping gin. So we are going to have a special giveaway for Josh's birthday. Do you want to tell us about that, Josh?
Yes, as everybody knows, I am a very big gamer, especially for my Nintendo Switch, because
E-
I'm
em-
obsessed.
Emphasis on the gay in gamer.
The homophobia I'm suffering from you today. Any,
That
anyway,
you never get homophobia from me.
anyway,
You get
it's
love.
I'm going to be giving away the Nintendo Switch game 30 in 1. So you got 30 classic games all in one cartridge. But it's not a cartridge because it's a digital version. So if you do win it, you'll have it delivered to you in a matter of minutes.
And that'll be via email.
Could be email, could be a DM, depends where you are.
Perfect. Well, without further ado, then, let's crack on with the show. So to begin the show, we're going to do our usual news roundup. And this week, our news roundup is going to be focused on a couple of bits of news. The first and foremost piece of news that we're going to be talking about is obviously the Supreme Court ruling that has hit headlines and has had a quite a significant impact on our communities as a whole, but also, and most importantly in particular, the transgender community. So, Josh, do you want to open up with talking us through the Supreme Court ruling?
Well, they've basically ruled on what is a woman, and they've ruled, in their opinion, that trans women aren't women.
Hmm.
The lead judge in it, I think, has a lot of ties to a certain church that's quite anti-gay and stuff. So that's already, to me, that's conflict of interest going on.
Yeah,
The case was funded by the Mold Queen.
and we
Everyone
know who
should,
that is, don't we?
yeah. And effectively, it's given a free pass for people to just be completely transphobic, masks off, especially the current government, who, in my opinion, is an absolute disgrace because for the last several years they've been saying, oh, trans rights are human rights, a woman can have a penis and all this stuff that we know. But now this has come into effect. Now they've kind of reversed and rolled over on their backs and took it all back. Um, we've got Keir Starmer saying that trans women aren't women, which is grossly offensive and completely dismisses trans people after years of him saying that trans women can have penises and trans women are women, all this. So clearly he didn't believe any of that. He didn't mean any of that. It was all words.
Hmm.
And you got Bridget Phillipson, who is the education minister, I believe. She's disgusting. She recently said on most news outlets, radios and stuff, but I saw her on Good Morning Britain, and
Yeah.
she was in like a school dinner room kind of thing, like big room in a school with about 50 kids in there, and she was saying very loudly that trans women aren't women. They should be made to use male toilets, which is incredibly dangerous. And she was saying that the court has ruled that trans women should use male toilets and things, which is not what it ruled on. That is a lie.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think it's important to differentiate the fact that the Supreme Court ruling has only made they've only made it recognised in law that women are defined by their biological sex, as in the biological sex they were born as. That is literally the ruling. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that is literally just the ruling. Anything else that comes from that is not part of that ruling. And I think they made it clear, didn't they, in that it should not be seen as a victory by either side. No side of the debate should be seen as having won or lost. The problem is the side of the gender criticals, the transphobes, whatever you want to call them, they are seeing it as a victory. They are celebrating. Even Lord Voldemort herself pictured herself in a tweet with a cigar and cocktail celebrating. Now, that was very reminiscent of the female equivalent of Andrew Tate. And it's a very dark time, I think, for our trans siblings, for the transgender community. And I think this is probably an important time for us to stand up and say that, as always, as we have always said before, we stand 100% behind and in support of our trans siblings, because history is in danger of repeating itself. In fact, history is repeating itself. But instead of gay people being the target, this time it's the transgender community that are being the target. And that is frightening. Now, I lived through what we went through before as the gay community. I've seen what happened. I've seen the impact it had on the gay community, and it was horrifying. And I am really worried and I am really concerned that our trans siblings are going to be facing the same kind of abuse, the same kind of discrimination. In fact, they already are facing the same kind of abuse and discrimination. And what's disturbing about it is that there are people that are commenting on the issue or on the subject matter on social media that aren't affected by it. They're not affected by it at all, but they want to throw their two pence in and have their say on the matter. They want to have their say on it. They want to moan about it. They want to complain about it. They want to use it as an opportunity to be discriminatory, and it's horrifying.
Yeah, as I said, I think this is ruling is a free pass for them to just say what they want with no consequences, and we've already seen the GCs start to go for immigration now, immigrants.
Mm.
I've seen them doing protests in London now, saying that all the immigrants are coming in raping all the women and stuff. So they've literally already jumping onto another minority. This is all they do. They will never be happy. They will always go after a minority. They have to. They have nothing else in their lives other than attacking minorities. That's all they have.
It's almost like they want to just go down that route of we're superior to everyone else, so we're gonna talk about these subjects as if we are superior, and sod the rest of you lot. You're not important. We're the important ones. So our say is what matters. Your opinions don't. And again, it goes down the route of history repeating itself. We're going back in time, and not in a good way. We're going back in time to the point where we are getting to a stage where we're not being civilized anymore. You know, there are people that are being discriminatory and think it's a free pass to be discriminatory. And what frightens me the most is the fact that um, people go on about free speech. They go on about freedom of expression, thinking that free speech is under attack. They think that free speech is under attack in that they can't say what they want, i.e., they don't feel they can be discriminatory and get away with it. Well, freedom of speech, the most important thing to understand about that is freedom of speech does not mean or equal freedom from consequence. And it's about time these people that cry about freedom of speech realize that. Because how would they like it if they were the minority and they were discriminated against? They wouldn't like it at all.
Well,
They hate it.
they keep going on saying women are under attack and women are in danger. But if you actually look at it, it's actually trans people that are under attack, trans people that are in danger, because the level of media coverage on trans people is it's a phenomenon. It's I just don't get it. It's on every station every day. You have people like Sheila Fogarty, who again is another disgusting human, and Nick Ferrari. They are obsessed with people's genitals. It's all they talk about all day. And
But
I'm
it,
like, if you ask them, have you ever met a trans person? They'll say no, and you'll say, okay, how have they affected you? Oh, it doesn't. And then if you ask them, okay, how many trans people have committed a sexual offence in a toilet or in a hospital ward? Zero. There's no evidence for anything you're saying. It's all nonsense, but they get so much media time. It's just astounding.
but this is the rhetoric they want to go down, isn't it? This is the rhetoric they want to create because it's such a passionate subject for them that they feel that if they talk about it and they create this faux hysteria that this is what's happening, this is what's going to happen, this is what can happen, that they'll get people on side. And the problem is because they're journalists, they have to go for the subject matter or the stories that are going to get them the reactions, the responses, and so forth. And unfortunately, the trans community are the current target of that because it seems to be such a passionate subject on both sides, and you know, and it is right that it's a passionate subject on the side of the trans community because they are, as you say, under attack. They are being targeted. They are a minority. So, as we've discussed on our news roundup, we are talking about the Supreme Court ruling, and that is going to be the topic of our conversation in conversation. So, we're going to continue talking about the Supreme Court ruling because it's something we're both quite passionate about, because we are both very supportive of our trans siblings. So, continuing on from what we've been talking about, Josh, what I would like to something I'd like to address is since the Supreme Court ruling, I have friends who are transgender and I care very deeply about them. Some of them I am in contact with regularly, some of them I've not been in contact with for a while. And something I have done is reach out to those who I've not been in contact with for a while for various reasons because we've drifted apart. We've not been in contact. Our lives have gone in different directions. Um, one particular friend in particular, and I'm not going to name names because I don't think it's fair to start identifying people or addressing people in particular. But one of my friends I've reached out to that I haven't spoken to in a while, she has expressed her fear about what the ruling means, and she has expressed fear that she's worried that her passport is going to get changed. She is fearful of what this means, what the repercussions can be, and how it's going to impact on her life. And I think that's very important that we listen to those voices of the trans community that are being impacted. And I think that's something we've been missing from all these debates that have been taking place on media, such as TV interviews, radio interviews, and so forth. Because, and would you agree that in interviews that have been taking place on various forms of media, it has been involving either cis women or cis men? There doesn't seem to be trans people that have been included or invited to take part in these conversations.
Well, it's always cisgendered people, isn't it? Any radio station you look at, any TV show you watch, interviews, or Good Morning Britain, all this kind of stuff, there's very rarely any trans people. I will say that the Metro seems to be quite good with having trans voices on. I know India Willoughby is given the opportunity to write a few articles for the Metro, but most other newspapers that doesn't happen. Good Morning Britain the other day, I did see there was a trans woman on there, and there was someone who was quite in favour of the Supreme Court ruling. But I will say this person who was in favour of this ruling, she did give respect to this trans person. She did say that this trans person should still have safe spaces. They should still be treated with respect. They should not be discriminated against. So I will give them that. But then you have people coming on after that, like that person who crashed the economy with Liz Truss. What was his name?
Kwasi Kwarteng.
Yeah, he's always on Good Morning Britain now, and he basically spouts nonsense. And then you have that other idiot that's always on there. I think his Twitter's like Tory Boy Pierce. I think is it Andrew Pierce?
Oh yeah, Andrew Pierce. Yeah,
God,
yeah.
he's always like, it's common sense. They're men, and I'm like, no, they're not men. They're trans
But
women.
this,
And
but this is the thing that
you
bothers
talk
me.
to everybody.
This is the thing that bothers me. It's always the cisgender people that are making these comments that have never spoken to trans people. They've never interacted with trans people, and they have never taken the views of trans people on board. They have their opinions and they express them, and that's what they want everyone to listen to and everyone to accept and everyone to believe. And yes, we all have opinions. Yes, we all have these opinions that we want to share, and we all think at some point in our lives that our opinions are what matters. But the problem is when we try to express our opinions or we try to impress our opinions on others, the problem is we don't actually listen, or we kind of get blinded to the views of others. And it's like with Tory Boy Pierce, Andrew Pierce, for example. He expresses his views, but he doesn't seem to take the views of others on board. It's like his views are all that matters.
He's always
Um,
shouting over everybody that's commenting. And the thing is, he's a gay man. And I think if you're a gay man and you're old enough to have lived through the 80s and you're now attacking trans people, you're a disgusting human being.
you know what? Every day is a school day. I did not realise. I did not even know he was gay. I did not know
Yeah.
that.
And he's
That
like, he's
that is
far
actually
right, always attacking trans people.
that is actually news to me. I did not know that. Um, but as I say, these are the sort of things we find out, we learn, and we hear these opinions every day, and I just think it's a disgrace. Um, I don't think it's fair to discriminate against particular demographics within our community. We are one big community. We are an LGBTQ plus community, and we should all be standing together. We shouldn't be infighting. We shouldn't be discriminating against each other. Um, and it really bothers me that we have people within our community that try to isolate, and we have people within our communities that say it's LGB, forget the TQ plus. No, don't forget the TQ plus. We're all part of the same community. We've all faced at some point in our lives the same struggles. We've faced the same struggles that we faced in the 80s, the 90s, hell, even the 50s, 60s, and 70s. There has been discrimination. And what's frightening, I think, is that we continue to see that discrimination happening today. And even more so, it's targeting the trans community. And it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. The trans community do not deserve this level of hate.
Yeah, and imagine being a gay man in the 80s, seeing what we went through with AIDS and the way that the government covered it up and didn't want to help, and then Section 28 and all this stuff, and then still being extremely anti-trans. And I will add as well, this Andrew Pierce, he was very against NHS funded PrEP. So
Really?
a medication that can literally stop the spread of AIDS and help the target of eradicating new cases by 2030. He was against that. Now,
Why
what
would you be
kind of
against something like that?
exactly what kind of gay man is not only against a medication that can stop a condition that killed thousands of gay people in the 80s and 90s, be against that and then also be so anti-trans. And the way he talks about trans people, he also adds the line of, oh, they still deserve respect and dignity, which is absolute bullshit, to be honest, because that's what our government says. You basically say that make them use male bathrooms, take away all their rights. They're taking over sports, and apparently all the trans people are on every bloody corner raping everybody, which is absolute crap. But yeah, basically that's happening. But also, let's give them respect and dignity. It's complete nonsense, and I just don't understand these lines that they're throwing out there about respect and dignity when they can't even give the bare minimum of respect and dignity to people.
You see, the thing is, I mean, what really bugs me is, as I've said, I have got friends who are transgender. I've got friends who are scared, and to say they're concerned or they're worried, I think is an understatement. They are scared. They are running scared of what the recent Supreme Court ruling means for their rights. And, I kind of echo their fears because growing up in the time that I grew up in, when LGBT rights were seen as they were seen as something that should have been feared. It was like we were the monsters, we were aliens, we were a threat, and that is how the trans community is being seen now, and that's wrong. They should not be seen as a threat because they are not a threat. Trans people deserve respect. They deserve support. They deserve to be treated like fellow human beings because they are human beings. They're human beings with feelings. And hearing the stories that I've heard from friends who are transgender and the fears that they're experiencing fills me with dread because I kind of echo their sentiments with when I was growing up, realizing that I was gay and realizing that they are now going through what we went through or what I went through when I was younger. And it's frightening to think that their very rights, their very existence, and their right to exist is under attack. And, it kind of makes me think along the lines of now, the ruling by the Supreme Court suggests that women or a woman is a biological woman from birth, right? Now, let's suppose that trans women are prevented from being allowed to use the women's toilets because they weren't biological women at birth. Now, let's think about trans men, and
They
let's go
never
down that
mentioned
route.
those.
No, they don't. But let's go down the route of, right. There are trans women out there, and you get gender criticals that say, "Oh, you can always tell." Now, there are trans women out there. No, you can't tell. You literally cannot tell. And let's suppose you get trans men who you can't tell. You literally cannot tell. What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to then go into the women's toilets and use the women's toilets? What kind of hysteria is that going to cause if you get someone that goes into a toilet that looks and sounds like a man and uses the toilet? Are those women then going to be like, you can't use the toilet because you're a man?
Yeah, are we going to have genital checks at the door and stuff?
Well,
You know,
exactly, and this is my
just
point. This is my point, and this is the whole thing. This is the whole hysteria. What trans woman has been a threat to women? What trans woman has been such a danger to women that they can't use the women's toilets?
well,
Trans and
the thing
sorry,
is,
carry on.
if a man wants to assault a woman, they're going to assault a woman. You're going to have,
Exactly.
if there's a predatory man, he is not going to pretend to be a trans woman to assault a woman. He's just going to do it. It happens. It's happened for generations. They're just using trans women as a scapegoat, and
Hmm.
we've already seen. I think it's London Transport Police, I believe it is. They've said they're
Brit,
going to
Brit,
have
Brit,
their
British Transport
British
Police, yeah.
So they've said they're going to have male officers strip search trans women.
See,
Now,
I think that's a lawsuit in
if
itself.
it is, because if these trans women if they've had breast implants and things like that, these are men that are going to be strip searching them and looking at them naked. Now, are
Mm,
they going to get aroused? Things like that. This is the thing that's going to happen. How do you know if they're a trans woman? If they see someone who is a biological woman and they think
mm.
that they're trans, are they going to make that biological woman strip down and say
Exactly.
they believe they were trans?
Exactly. What are they going to do? Are they going to say the trans women? Are they going to turn around and say I'm a trans woman, or are they going to say I'm a woman?
Exactly. And the
You know,
thing is, trans people are not saying they're not saying that they are not biologically the sex that they are. I've never met a trans person that said my biology has changed. I don't That's never happened, and they say yes, biologically I am this, but this is who I am. And
and
the thing is, this
I
Supreme
think this
Court.
is I think this is the thing. It's the whole thing of people confuse sex and gender. Sex and gender are two different things.
But what do we do
Sex,
with intersex people? There's like 30 different types of intersex people. There's people that are born with a vagina, but they also have testes, and then there's people with testes that also have ovaries. Where do they
mm,
go? And then when they asked that,
and
they asked that Bridget Phillipson this question, and she couldn't answer it. And she just keeps saying people with their biological sex must use the restroom that fits that gender or biological sex. I'm like, but what if they're intersex as well? Where do
well,
they go?
not only that, you know, I mean, this debate, this conversation could go on to cover the whole and wider ranging LGBTQ plus community. I mean, for example, asexuals. You know, Lord Voldemort recently launched an attack on asexuals. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
didn't she say
where
they
does it
couldn't?
stop?
But didn't she say they couldn't be sexually assaulted
Yeah,
or something because they don't
but
feel sexual? And I'm like, what an absolutely disgusting, ignorant statement to make.
exactly, and this is the thing. It all boils down to ignorance. And where does it stop? Where does it stop?
Well,
That's
they
that's the
just
point.
want women to be how they were in the 50s. They want women to be in little flowy dresses, living in the kitchen, looking after the kids, not having a job, can't vote. This is literally how they see a woman. And if you do not fit in that little beautiful hair, all the makeup, frilly dress, if you don't fit into that, you are an outsider. Now,
See,
what if a woman who is more masculine, has shorter hair, wears shirts and jeans and stuff, are they going to start saying they can't use women's bathrooms?
and this is the point, isn't it? It's the whole thing. I mean, I think you and I are very clear on equality, on rights. You know, we are very anti discrimination, whether that be racial discrimination, whether it be religious discrimination, whether it be ableism, whether it be misogyny, sexism, homophobia, anything along the lines. We are very anti discrimination. We are very pro equality. Um, and the whole thing around women's rights, you know, we are pro women's rights, but not at the expense of other rights, you know, like trans rights and LGBT rights, anything like that. Um, and I think it's very important to differentiate between the two because otherwise you start to conflate an issue where you start to say, right, well, yes, women's rights go down this route, but then trans rights go down this issue, and then you start to confuse the two issues. Um, it's very important to say that, and as you've highlighted before, when is a trans woman or when is a man going to pretend to be a trans woman just to go in and sexually assault a woman? If a man wants to sexually assault a woman, he's going to go into the toilets and he's going to do it.
Exactly.
And what evidence do we have that that happens so regularly that these gender criticals imply happens regularly.
And I will say as well with this Bridget Phillipson, who I'm going to keep calling out because her comments were disgusting. She said also on that live interview, she said women should be allowed to go into refuges, which yes, I agree. But she said they shouldn't be allowed to have trans women in there because these women have already suffered abuse from men. Now, in my opinion, that line and comment is calling trans women men. She's saying
Yeah.
that trans women should not be allowed to go into refuges because they are a danger to women. Now you are
And where
blaming all trans women and calling them predators. You are making out they are going to assault women. When
but
if you
this is
look at
this
the
is
numbers, it's not. There is the numbers are just not there to back you up.
but this is the thing, isn't it? It's that case of, it's like putting everyone into the same basket, putting applying. It's like saying it's like when you see on social media the ignorant bigots that turn around and say all gay people are paedophiles because you might get one or two gay people that are paedophiles, and suddenly everyone's a paedophile because they're all sex pests, they're all sex offenders. Or you get, when they ignore the fact, and when you put the facts to them and say all, the majority of sex offenders or paedophiles statistically are heterosexual men,
Well,
but they
when
don't
you when
like
you
that.
show
But
when
they
you
don't like
show
that.
them these when you show and I know you've done this a lot with turfs on Twitter and stuff. When you show them these school teachers that are females, women, biological women that have assaulted children, well, raped children, and done these sex crimes. And I know there's recently been a news article about a very staunch gender critical woman who's followed by Rosie Duffield and stuff. She's recently come out and it's been found out that she's been assaulting children for decades. So she's a pedophile. She's a biological woman. Are we banning them from everywhere? No.
Exactly.
Is Rosie Duffield and J.K. Rowling and Maya Foreskin, as we call her, have they been calling
Maya foreskin, I love
have,
that.
have they been calling out this little social media friend of theirs for sexually assaulting children and molesting them?
Exactly. And
No.
but this is the double standards, isn't it? This is the double standards that we're seeing. And that's what is so frustrating because we are hearing these stories, we're seeing these stories happening, but they're not calling it out. All they're doing is calling out trans women and calling trans women men and saying that they are sex offenders.
Yeah, and I just want to say as well that some of our listeners might not know, but I am running as a Green candidate in my constituency. I won't say where because the mold queen might try and get me murdered again, like she did before.
You do look
But
a bit green.
yeah, I do like the color green. But I've actually had I won't name them, but I've had parents messaging me saying, "Oh, are you the Green candidate?" And I've said yes. And they've asked me what my views are. I've told them. I've said LGBT rights and all the other things, and immediately they've responded saying, "I've got a trans son, or I've got a trans daughter, and I am scared for their safety." And they're scared for their safety and they're really fearful. And I've said, I will be someone who speaks out and stands up for you. And they've said, you've got my vote. Now, I know I'm probably not going to win because Greens don't really do very good in the very.
In most places, I think it's safe to say they don't do good in most places. But yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and but yes, the thing is, I think it's important to say that yes, um, you don't do great in places, but there are people out there that will vote for you, and they will vote for you for the right reasons. But and it is important that you do stick up for trans rights, and it is important that we stand up for trans rights. And I think the message that we need to make out and that we need to make clear is that we, as you and I, stand by and support transgender rights. We support our trans siblings, and we will not discriminate against them, and we will stand up against any kind of discrimination that we face or that they face. And, we don't want our trans siblings to feel like we felt as gay men back in the day, because that is where history is in danger of repeating itself. So if you are transgender and you are listening to this, please remember that you are valued. Your lives matter. You do not, you should not feel you don't belong, because you do. You have every right to live your life as you see fit. You have every right to live your life as your true, authentic self. And if you don't, and if people stand up against you and try to say that you don't belong, they don't matter. They really don't matter, because they are not important, because they're the ones that are being ignorant to your lives. They don't understand your lives. They don't deserve to understand your lives, to be honest, because you are what matters. So please make sure that going forward you exist. And if anyone is affected by this, we will post helpline numbers and websites, email addresses that you need to gain that support if you need to talk. You are welcome to message us. You are much welcome to message us and take on board anything that we have to say and go from there, because we want to make sure that you are valued and that you are respected, because you deserve to be respected, because you matter.
I did have a little bit of a microphone error then. I apologise. But
That's
as
all
I was
right.
saying, I've
I was,
had
I was,
some.
sorry. I was filling you in.
Thank you. But yes, as I was saying, I don't know where it ended, but I have had some parents message me about their trans kids, and I've said that I will stand up for you, and they've said what a failure Labour have been for standing up for them, and I have called out at my MP. I have even the Green Party, if there's the odd one that's not supporting trans people, I've called them out. This is how I am. If I don't just support a party blindly, if I'm a part of a party and you're not supporting the values I support, I'll call you out on it. That's just how I am. And I know I'm probably not going to win as a Green candidate, as I said, but I like to know that I'm standing up for things. And even if I get 5 votes, that's 5 people that stand by trans people, and hopefully it might be more than that. It might be in future, but
Well, we
I've
know you've got at
reassured
least
these
three.
people. Yes, but I've reassured these parents that your children matter, and there are people like me that will defend you, and I will stick up for your children. And I really do believe that these kids needs people to look after them and stand up for them.
And I think that's the important thing, isn't it? It is to show that they are valued, they are supported. Trans people are supported. They are valued. They are respected. They deserve to exist, and that is what is important. And that is what I think that those that are against trans rights want to make you they want to make you feel that. They want to make you feel that you don't exist. So, as I say, if you are transgender and you are worried about your future, we are here for you. We are here to support you, and there are support lines out there to provide you with that support if you need it. But do not feel that you're alone. We will fight this all together. We are a community. We are a community that stick together, and we will stay together. We will not separate ourselves like the gender criticals like us to or want us to, because we are what matters. Now it's time for Josh to be a moany old bitch, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to let him go first because he seems to be having some technical issues this week, so I'm going to let him go first with what his moans are, because he's probably going to fucking moan for loads and loads and loads, and then crash, and then get stuck. So
Well,
Josh, what have you got to moan about this week?
My complaints closet has recently changed over the last 4 hours.
I'm not gonna ask what it was. What is it now?
It's technology
Why is that?
because I have spent 4 hours, yes, 4 hours, trying to fix such absolute bastard of a laptop that keeps doing a blue screen going error, but it doesn't tell me what's wrong and then shuts down. And I'm like, it'd help if you tell me what's wrong with you.
I'm just gonna pour a Jack Daniels whilst you're doing this.
Okay. And then it's like,
Carry on.
and then I'm trying to use it. I can type one word and it's like, sorry, that one word was too much for me. I'm going to break myself and die. Then it says,
Coke Zero.
then it goes, we recommend a factory reset. Do all that. Takes 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours of my life I have lost to this factory reset. Finishes the factory reset. It says everything should be great. Brilliant. So what do? I load up the software, I start recording again. 3 minutes in, what does it do after 3 minutes in? Blue screen of death with a sad face. Why is it showing me a sad face? It's showing me a sad face. That just makes me more pissed off because I'm like, why are you showing me a sad face? I'm furious.
It's trolling you. That's what it's doing. It's trolling you. That's what it is doing. It's mocking you.
Yeah, but it just goes, there's an error. What does that mean? What is wrong
It means
with
there's a
you?
problem
Tell
somewhere.
me. Yeah, but tell me what's wrong. You're supposed to be. You're supposed to be smarter than me. Fix yourself. Let me click a button, and whatever's wrong, fix it.
You'd think it would be able to diagnose its own problem, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but it doesn't. Or it'll say, "Oh, there's a problem with the software." Yeah, but what? What's wrong with the software? Can I just click a button and you will fix it and download whatever you need? No, I need a bloody Harvard degree to work out what the fuck's wrong with you. Honestly, it's infuriating. This is why I don't like computers and laptops because there's too many things going on with it. There's too many things that go wrong with it. And then all it ever does, if something goes wrong, it just goes error with a code. And then I'm like, what does that mean? Why is there an
I love
error?
your
Yeah, but why
I
is there
love
an
your moans.
why is there an error and then a code? Just say error and then just say what the problem is. Don't make me
But
go.
the irony is you've got to then look up the code. You've then got to look up the code on the laptop that has caused the problem in the first place. And that's the problem. But yeah, um that is what the issue is for you. But I'm gonna move on to my issue now. Because I think you've experienced the same problem again. So, I'm going to move on to my problem now, or my complaint, should I say? And that is online trolls. I hate online trolls. I hate people that create fake profiles to to troll people. They literally create fake profiles. They hide behind anonymity in order to try and get out of facing consequences of their actions. And I think it goes back to something that we said earlier that you know freedom of speech, freedom of speech is not freedom from consequence, and that is why you have online trolls that create fake profiles. They create dummy profiles in order to be able to ensure that they can't face the consequences of their actions. And this is the thing that bugs me. I mean, what do you think about online trolls, Joshua? I can see that you're a bit frustrated.
First of all, can I just say my laptop's going to meet a very, very painful fucking demise in the black bin because I'm pissed off. Not
Oh,
only does it keep crashing, it's crashing during my mid rant, and that's the worst thing that can happen.
I know it crashed mid rant because I had to cover for you as it did that because I could tell that it did that. So, dear listeners, whilst you're listening, this episode is literally full of bloopers because because Joshua is experiencing a number of technical issues as we go along, and I think that is probably providing you with a bit of entertainment whilst you're listening to us.
If any of
And
my
I do
sentences
apologise.
just randomly cut off, it's because my laptop is being evil and it hates me, and it's going to be ended up smashed with a hammer because I'm infuriated. But now
To
I
be
don't know. I don't even know what your complaint was because the bloody thing didn't work.
to be fair, you didn't stop mid-sentence. You'd actually finished your sentence, and I saw that you'd crashed, so I managed to finish it for you. But
I
my
was not. I
complaint.
was not finished. I still had a whole other 5 minute rant on top of that. Thank you very much.
Oh, I know, and I did hear you from the next room. But but my rant was about online trolls, about creating fake profiles in order to be able to troll people, and the whole thing around freedom of speech, not meaning freedom from consequence, and people creating fake profiles to try and make sure that they have that freedom from consequence, because by creating a fake profile, being anonymous, trying to make sure that they don't get into trouble, and that is one thing that suggests to me that when they have to resort to the extent of creating a fake profile in order to say what they want so that they don't face consequences, that to me suggests they know what they're doing is wrong. And they know that their actions are wrong. They know that they could get into trouble. And it's usually people that work in certain professions that know that if their bosses were to get wind of the fact that they talk like that or behave like that, they would probably get sacked. And that's why they try to hide behind anonymity. And that is why they try to hide behind the keyboard and become a bit of a keyboard warrior and say whatever the hell they like, trying to avoid facing the consequences. So what do you think about online trolls, Josh?
Well, most of the time they say that there is no freedom of speech, and I'm like, yet here you are saying racist, homophobic, transphobic comments 24/7. You never sit down and have a cup of tea and have a break. But yeah, sure, there's no freedom of speech. And
Exactly.
the same, it's like the mold queen, isn't it? If you look at her profile, Jesus Christ, she's talking about trans people more than trans people. She's obsessed. But
And
yeah,
why?
of
Why?
course,
Why are they so obsessed?
because they have nothing else to do in life.
Oh dear.
Like, what can you name any other books that she's written? No.
It's frustrating, isn't it? It's frustrating, isn't it? Well, I mean, you say no, but I mean, there is obviously the Strike series, but that's
I
really it.
literally don't
Harry
know what that
Potter and the
is.
Strike series.
No
It's
idea
a
what that
crime.
is.
It's crime novels. It's crime novels, but she wrote that under the pseudonym Robert Galbraith. But I think even Robert Galbraith was someone who's anti-trans,
Wasn't he a
um,
conversion therapist?
something like that. Something like that.
The, the signs were always there. But yeah, of course,
Exactly.
there's no freedom of speech, but racists like the Reform MPs and stuff, they're given radio stations interviews all the time, every day. They're given TV interviews every day. But of course, you've got no freedom of speech.
Exactly. But this is all about my rant about online trolls. So, yeah, online trolls. I mean, Lord Voldemort is an online troll herself, but she doesn't hide behind anonymity. She's quite upfront about how she's an online troll about certain things, particularly trans issues, trans rights. But yeah. Um, I think that's all we've got time for in relation to the complaints closet this week. So I think we're going to move on, aren't we? Because we've got to
Yes.
talk about something very important, which is your birthday giveaway. So we're going to go on to that in a moment. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joshua. Happy birthday to you. So, Joshua, it's now time for your birthday giveaway. So, what can they win and how can they enter?
Can I just say the anxiety triggers from Happy Birthday singing is flawless.
Look on the bright side. I could have said happy 40th birthday and really insulted you by adding 5 years onto your age.
True, that's true. But yes, anyway, back to the giveaway because I'm so lovely for my birthday. I'm going to give a lucky listener a gift to them. As we said earlier, it's going to be the Nintendo Switch game 30 in 1, which has some pretty classic oldie games on there that I think you'll enjoy. It's going to be a digital version, so you don't have to wait for it to be delivered. It's going to just arrive in your DMs. But all you've got to do is, because I need plenty of happy birthdays, all you've got to do is wish me a happy birthday on a post we're going to do after this on our Blue Sky Gaily Digest account.
Vanity, thy name is Joshua.
Sure. So if you wish me a happy birthday on the Gaily Digest post, you're going to enter, and then we're going to pick a lucky winner.
Love me.
Wish me a happy birthday, or you're not having a gift.
So yes, all you got to do is wish Joshua a happy birthday on the Gaily Digest post that we are going to post in conjunction with the release of this podcast. So if you have a Nintendo Switch and you want to win this game, just wish him a happy birthday and we will go from there, and you will be selected from a hat. Josh has a very lovely trilby.
If you say so, whatever that is.
Yes. It's a hat.
It's a hat.
But yes, good luck, and we hope that you stand a chance of winning. We hope that you win. All the best, all the very best to you. And that is all we've got time for on the Gaily Digest this week. We hope that you have enjoyed the episode. We are sorry that we have probably ranted quite a lot throughout this episode, but we have had some important issues that we've needed to talk about, haven't we, Joshua?
Yeah, so we've been riddled with technical difficulties and my anxiety is very high.
Yeah, well, the technical difficulties and the anxiety is all on your side on this occasion, but we hope you enjoy the episode, and we hope that you will enjoy future episodes coming forward. As we say, we wish you the best in the competition. We hope that you all stand a good chance of winning, and you will be picked at random, and the competition winner will be announced in a month's time. So we are going to give you a month to have an opportunity to take part in this competition.
A month of happy birthdays. Oh,
I know. Well, you do love the attention. So thank you very much for listening. We hope you've enjoyed the episode. So for now, thank you for listening. Stay safe and be happy.